Today on DNVR Buffs Live, is the national media starting to change their mind on the Buffs? And is the 2025 class going to be the one that defines Coach Prime's legacy at Colorado? More next. Let's go.
Welcome into Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. It's DNVR Buffs Prime Time, presented by Illegal Pete's. What up?
Not much, man. Just can't wait to see JuJu Lewis throwing the ball to LeJontay West.
Oh, man.
Fun morning on Twitter.
Did we do a segment this offseason? Top 5 worst tweets of the offseason?
That would actually be fun. Also, I honestly feel bad for whoever is in that position. They had big shoes to fill.
They really did.
And it's just not working out so far.
No. It's Barstool, though. They'll figure it out.
Maybe.
What up, chat? How's everyone doing today? We are going to hit on EACFB news. We're starting to get some content rollout from there. We got the unlimited coaches rule being voted on this week.
Unlimited.
No. The 2025 recruiting class just getting started, but we start with the national media. This time, not talking shit.
Dang, man. It's nice to be able to see some national media and not get mad about it.
I know, it's crazy.
Where do we start?
Well, we can start with Joel Klatt if you want. They're already talking about Keyshawn in the comments, though, about the expectations that some people are putting on the Buffs already this year.
Oh, we're talking about too high of expectations?
No, I'm just
okay.
Not too high. I mean, I guess, how do I word this? Because the staff obviously sees it that way, too.
Yeah.
But the national media was dogging on CU all offseason. Now we're up to 10, basically.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's one. We'll get to some of this, but I think first and foremost, it kind of goes to my point yesterday, which I think a lot of people didn't like or didn't understand what I was trying to say about it. But first and foremost, putting national media in one thing isn't fair because there's so many different opinions that are coming from national analysts, pundits, talking heads, whatever you want to call them. So I think in most cases, except for maybe one that we'll talk about here in a second, the people that are down on the Buffs are still down on the Buffs. People that are high on the Buffs are still high on the Buffs. I still contend that there's never been a wider gap between the believers and the non-believers.
Absolutely.
Than there is with Colorado this season. But we can't start with Joel. What did Joel say?
Joel said a lot. It was a great conversation. Where do you want to start with it? I mean, we could talk. They talked about last year. They talked about Shedeur, Shiloh, and Travis going to the NFL, what that means for Coach Prime's future. They talked about this season. Then they talked about the long-term future of the program. They talked about, what's wrong with college football. It was a lot of stuff. It was a great 30-minute talk. So,
yeah, well, first of all, I'm curious the content decision that goes into waiting so long after the interview to post this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think it was Girls Club yesterday, maybe Louise, who said, like, the conversation was great, but we've already heard all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on anyone other than just the fact that they clearly recorded this during spring ball.
Yep.
There's been a lot of, conversations and questions asked of Coach Prime since then. So I thought it was a good conversation. I love Joel. I think it's really cool that, like, between Joel Klatt and Chris Fowler, the voice of college football is comes from Colorado.
Yeah.
But the one that I guess is always going to make headlines is when they talk about Coach Prime going to the NFL.
Right.
He obviously shut it down, as he always has. And no matter what words he uses to describe it, no one ever really believes him. But now there's this funny thing going on where the people who are Colorado haters can't decide whether or not to say that Coach Prime sucks. Coach Prime's going to leave for an NFL job, which obviously means he doesn't suck. Or Coach Prime's going to leave for a bigger college football job. Like, they can't make their minds up.
Right.
But it's clear to me that the NFL is not the destination for Coach Prime, and I'm a big believer in college coaches and shouldn't be reaching for the NFL. Like, there is a beauty of college football, and the ones who succeed in college are the ones who love it, of taking in young men, molding them into men, teaching them life lessons, and helping them through the first years, in many cases, away from their family.
Yeah.
That's like a really special thing. And if you love that and you're good at coaching college football, you shouldn't be chasing the NFL dream. And I think Coach Prime is so self-aware as a human that he just doesn't think that way. He also doesn't have this like thing calling him like, oh, I have to prove that I can do this at the highest level.
Right.
It's just like, no, I love where I am. I love what I'm doing. We've been obviously pretty honest with ourselves of like, Coach Prime probably isn't going to be here for forever. If he has the level of success that we expect him to at Colorado, like, there will be more opportunities, more money, all that stuff out there for him. And he may take that, he may not. But regardless, the NFL is not where he's going.
No, not at all. I mean, he's spent how many years playing in the NFL? 15 plus. He's seen it all. He's heard it all from his friends in the league, colleagues, whatever you want to call them. And he knows guys, like, even in this interview with Joel Klatt, he talked about how close he was with Nick Saban. You think that is there another person who's better to tell you about why you should not go to the NFL if you're a great college coach and what the dangers are of that?
Yeah.
Because Nick Saban lived through it. So I hope this is the last time, really, that we have him answer this question. It's probably not going to be. It's probably going to come up in a few months or whatever big college job opens up, Florida or whatever, this season. So it's just something that we unfortunately kind of have to live with. But yeah, as you said, Coach Prime is not going to be here for forever, but he's made it pretty clear how much he loves Colorado, loves Boulder, loves this team. And when we get to the 2025 class, when we talk about recruiting today, it doesn't look like he's, slowing down in terms of the future of this program.
And I think that's the number one thing that if you're a Colorado fan looking for a sign or something to hang your hat on as to why Coach Prime is not leaving after Shedeur, Travis, and Shiloh go to the NFL is not just the fact that he's recruiting, because everyone's going to recruit until they're given their papers or they decide they want to leave. It's the vigor in which he is recruiting this class. And to me, I guess we'll wait to get into it, but that is something that I think as a Colorado fan, if you're looking for hope in that regard, that's what you should look at.
Sticking with this Joel Klatt stuff, though, he talked a bit about 2023. Joel Klatt asked him, what did you learn about yourself, or what's the biggest thing you learned about yourself last year? And he said, I need a little bit more patience. I needed a little more patience in certain areas because I know what's supposed to be happening, and I'm hearing what's supposed to be happening. If it's not happening, my best statement I make to the staff is, if you allow it to happen, that's on you. It's just consequently on me. It's a sign of a leader.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Accountability.
What else we got? And then obviously talking about Shedeur and Shiloh going to the NFL. He was talking about the changing landscape of college football. And again, like I said, he talked a lot about Nick Saban. And he pretty much said, and I think he tweeted this out too. Again, this is to the point that we've already kind of talked about all this, but that college football just changed too much for Nick Saban. Like, it kind of just It's not the same game it was 5 years ago even. And that's why he left. He said his change is different. He kept it a buck. He kept it 100. I know how he got to that point. You hear the stories, but you know the truth. When you hear the truth and I know the truth, I just hate it for him because I felt as though he had so much more left. But I understand.
Okay. Really quick. A couple things in the comments. People are talking about how they're trying to tear down JuJu Lewis. I'm not. Can you guys just tell me where that's from? I want to read it. And then the other thing, someone keeps saying JuJu news dropping Friday. Is that coming from somewhere, or are you just trying to give the scoop? Just some questions for the chat.
Thank you. And then probably the, I guess, most notable point of this interview is Joel Klatt tells him, look, you addressed what you did in the portal. I look at this roster. I put on my analyst hat, and I see a team that can compete for the Big 12.
And he's not alone.
No.
He's not alone. And look, what it comes down to me for this team competing for the Big 12 is how good is the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Buffs News Weekly. I think people are so quick to ignore the fact that what Shedeur did last year with that offensive line. Even if you want to say he holds onto the ball too long sometimes, which I think most people agree is something that he could get better at, probably even Shedeur. You know that offensive line was not good. There were times where Shedeur was one read, it's covered, sacked. He threw 27 touchdowns to 3 interceptions.
Yes, he did.
27 to 3. Mm-hmm. If this offensive line, and the offense, I think, averaged 29 points a game. If this offensive line is even 50% better, Shedeur is going to get near 40 touchdowns.
Yep.
And the interceptions will stay right where they're at, if not getting lower. Mm-hmm. Think about that. Think about what that does for an offense. Then you take in the fact that the weapons have gotten better. The running back room, in my opinion, is better. You talk about the fact that the defensive line is much stronger. The pass rush group is much stronger. And all of a sudden, it's just like they lost, I believe, 5 games by 1 score. Mm-hmm. If they were to be able to turn those around last year, it's a 9-win team. This year, they should be better, and they're not going to have to play Caleb Williams and Bo Nix. Was there a third top 10 quarterback that they played?
Well, they dodged Penix, but
okay. Either way,
he talked about that in the interview too. He said, look at our schedule. Like, look at the quarterbacks that we played last year, and obviously not trying to put down the Big 12's quarterbacks, but they went through kind of a gauntlet last year, even though they did dodge Penix. They still played DJU. They still played Fafita. Like, all these guys in the Pac-12, like the Pac-12 was literally the conference of quarterbacks last year. The team has gotten better. The schedule isn't going to be, I don't think, as challenging. It's still going to be a tough schedule, but and then, you're talking about Shedeur and how he doesn't throw interceptions and stuff. Like, that's massive, man. Like, I know it's been a while since we've actually watched them play football, but just remember when you watch Shedeur play, the ball is never in harm's way. There's never one of those throws where you're like, ooh, like that was close. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You say that, and it's for our side. Like, that was almost a big play is what it is usually.
Yep. It's so true. I went back and just watched some Shedeur from last year, and it is absolutely crazy how good his margin of error is. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm phrasing that right. But I've also been watching a lot of golf lately. Uh-huh. And what everyone says about why Scotty Scheffler is so dominant is because they say he misses in the right places. He goes into every hole knowing, okay, well, if I miss over there, it's going to be okay. I can still make par easily. He never puts it in a place where he can't get out of it. Yeah. Shedeur's the same way, dude. Even when he throws an incomplete pass, it's like it's going to the sideline and it's a little too far to the sideline.
Right.
He's throwing a deep ball. It's a little too deep. Whatever it is, it's like everything he does is so calculated that you're right. The ball, you're never seeing like a ball go through a defender's hands and drop to the ground. And you're like, right, well, got away with one.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's massive. Let's continue this conversation on the other side. Shout out to our friends over at, what did Jack say? 28 sacks last year, 12.5 from D-line plus edges. That will be drastically different this season. This front seven has legit pass rush at every position plus depth. Huge difference.
Amen,
Great
Jack.
point, too. But shout out to our friends over at Vestibule, a cool new app that allows you, the fans, to invest in some of your favorite athletes. They are launching with Denver Broncos outside linebacker Baron Browning. Just talking to, Hank and Zach, the Broncos guys. Sounds like Baron's looking pretty good this year.
Love to hear it.
The Broncos pass rush in particular looking pretty good, but Baron could be one of the guys that leads that pass rush, and you could get in on Vestable on Baron's IPO, and you could earn money alongside him. He's in a contract year. He could break the bank here in just about 6 months or so. But download the Vestable app, scan that QR code on the screen. Baron's IPO is live right now, and shares are available for purchase, but they are limited, so go download the Vestable app now and invest.
Also, shout out to our friends over at Bet365, best sportsbook app out there. I just missed this weekend on my golf bets, but we're in the plus this summer, that's for sure. Thanks to Bryson. We'll get back on the horse again for the Rocket Mortgage, which is actually, I believe, where Colin Morikawa, my guy, got his first ever win. Anyways, use the code DNVR365 to sign up at Bet365 for the bet and get offer. Place a bet of $5 or more and get $150 in bonus bets. It's a great deal, and it's just one of the many, many great deals they have over at Bet365. So get in on it. Bet this Copa America, the Euro Cup, golf, UFC. There's got to be a good UFC fight coming up soon.
It's got to be soon.
You must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly, and if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Did you see the video of Dre watching that Italy goal yesterday?
So good, man. Like, insanely excited Dre is one of the best things ever.
I know, it's awesome. We do have UFC 303 this weekend, by the way.
303?
Yeah.
Dang, I'm definitely going to win money on that.
Okay, so back to what we were talking about, because the topic of being contenders in the Big 12 seems to be a hot one.
Yeah.
Especially the last 24 hours or so. I don't know if you have anything to say about the guys on, what is it called now? It's not First Take. It's on Fox. I can't even remember what the hell it's called.
Undisputed.
Undisputed.
Right?
I think you're right. I don't know if you want to get into that, but there was another clip yesterday from On 3.
Yeah. So we'll start with Keyshawn and Skip, who both have the Buffs winning the Big 12. And I'll just say it's nice to have some people on our side. You know what I mean?
It is.
And Keyshawn, not the most elite analysis I've ever heard, because he also had us one of those 3 losses coming to Nebraska.
Ooh.
But it's just nice to have people on our side, because there's so much negativity out there around the program. So shout out to Keyshawn, Skip. Skip, honestly, sounding like he's on this show saying Shador's the best quarterback in the nation. He's going to be the number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
Just watch and see. So it's nice to hear that from those guys. But the other side of it is the On 3 video, which I just got a good laugh out of. It was JD
Piquel.
He was answering a question, so he didn't bring this up on his own, but it was, what if Coach Prime wins the Big 12? And I just felt a little bit of hedge in what he was saying, because I kind of, when I saw the clip and I just saw like the thumbnail which had him answering the question, I kind of was expecting like him to just be like, that's not happening, so I don't need to answer this, because he's has a pretty big reputation as a hater. But he said if that happens, then all of us, including me, are gonna have to eat a lot of crow, and anything we've said about Coach Prime not being a real coach will have to be taken back, or something along those lines. And it was just like, he's at least thought about this in his head. He's considered that is a possibility.
That's the big thing.
Yeah,
That's the big takeaway. Whoever asked that question, you get a ton of kudos, because I don't know if it's the first time, but it made them think, what is the path for Colorado to winning the Big 12? And what if this happens? Just to get that jogging in their mind.
Yep.
Just to get it going a little bit.
You got to be prepared for it. I love this stuff, though, because every time I click on one of these things, I just add to the bookmarks, because there's just people talking crazy out there.
Yep. That's really it. I mean, Coach Prime did say he plans on staying at Colorado for quite a while when he was on Joel Klatt too. So he loves it here. His tank is full. That was the quote.
Yeah, I love that.
All right.
So the video was sent to me about them talking down on JuJu. I guess it was an Elite 11 takeaways from 247, but it's a video, so I can't really watch it right, unless you want to talk about something while I try and watch this.
So just on that, oops, my bad. I saw some like superlatives from the Elite 11 thing, and JuJu got like Mr. Consistency basically.
Okay.
So I don't think he, wowed anyone with like big bomb throws, 70 yards downfield. And I don't think that's his game either, too. So,
sorry, no free ads.
But yeah. So I don't know what they could possibly say about him at the Elite 11. That's just what I heard. Let's talk about this 2025 class, though, and what this class could mean for the future, because we did have so before this last weekend, we had 3 commits. All 3 of them ended up coming to Colorado for the official visit. Alex Graham, Mantrez Walker, Corbin Lazier. And then Chauncey Golden joins the crew.
Gooden.
Or what did I say?
Golden.
Chauncey Gooden, yes, joins the crew. But we're still waiting on a few guys. So Steve Wiltfong spoke to Quinnell X Farrakhan about his visit. Quinnell said, "I loved it in Colorado. They made me feel like I was home. I believe that they could get me to the next level." He said Coach Prime, when asked why it was a place that could get the best out of him, he said how real he was. Nothing was fake. He kept it real. Farrakhan took an official visit to UCLA last week. His decision is July 13th. It sounds like it's between those 2 teams, Colorado and UCLA.
Let's go.
On Pat Shurmur, Quinnell said he was a head coach in the NFL for 2 teams. He knows what it takes to get me to the next level. On the vibe around the area, he said we got to go swim in the lake at Colorado, spent lots of times with the coaches and ate at good restaurants. So just sounds like he enjoyed his visit overall.
Love it. Love it. That word real keeps coming up.
It does. And we could talk about that too. Shout out to Philip Dukes of On3, who spoke to TC Lewis, and reported what he heard from TC about JuJu's visit. And he asked TC, one word, describe Colorado's visit, and that's the word he picked, real.
And I loved Philip's analysis of it.
It was
speaking
spot
of,
on.
He seems cool.
He's cool.
He essentially just talked about how real is such a compliment, and it's something that like you describe to. They used to describe something that is like meaningful or special in some way.
Well, do you remember the analogy that he used in the?
Yeah, it's
in
like
the
if you're
video?
hanging out with your friends or whatever.
Yeah.
He said, like if you go to hang out with your friends and then you come back and someone's like, how was it? And you said real. It means like you had like the conversations. They were deep. They were meaningful. They were,
because you could say, "Oh, we were just kicking it, chilling."
That's pretty much what I would say 9 times out of 10. How was it? It was chill.
But like if you have a good conversation with someone, like you catch up with someone, it was real, man.
Yeah, honestly. So it's hard to read too much into one word. But as far as words go, he could have said great. And that would have given us nothing.
Yeah.
He could have said chill. He could have said cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And it wouldn't have given us much. Real? That means something. And I thought I saw another clip of TC, and maybe it was a tweet that he sent out. I can't remember what it was, but it was something about how he wants people to keep it real with his son, because he's like, I don't need a coach to tell him how great he is. I need a coach to tell him how he's going to get better. And that took me back to what Jordan Seaton said about why he came to Colorado and Coach Prime. When everyone else was telling him he's the greatest thing in the world, Coach Prime said, I'm going to give you 3 things that I want you to get better at, regardless of whether you come to Colorado or not. And so that just goes back to that realness. And I don't know, like, it's so against the grain from what recruiting is like, because so many of these schools are just, I can't think of an appropriate term for this right now, pumping their tires. Just telling them how great they are all the time, you know, filming videos of them singing happy birthday to the recruit. And it's so fake oftentimes.
Yep.
And it's so just like tell them whatever they want to hear.
Right.
That when you get around Coach Prime and let's just say JuJu asked him the question like, well, are you gonna let me wear can I wear number 10 if I come here? Mm-hmm. And like I can just imagine Coach Prime being like, that's up to you. Like you're gonna have to earn it.
Right.
Am I definitely gonna be quarterback 1?
Right.
That's up to you. You have to earn it. Like
Yep.
all of a sudden you start thinking like, oh man, like this feels different. It feels more real. It feels like, a father figure or, someone who really wants to push you to be your best. And it really is unconventional because I've never seen anyone really try to do it this way. Usually they just tell, like, Steve Atwater, for example, I had a long conversation about his recruitment. Now, this is many, many years ago. Mm-hmm. But he was talking about how, like, every single school told him that they didn't want him as a quarterback. Arkansas, because he was like an triple option quarterback in high school. Arkansas told him, yeah, we'll take you as a quarterback. And then on the third day of practice told him, hey, look, you're the 6th string quarterback, but we think you could be the starting safety. Mm-hmm. And he went and played safety. But it's like they just told him what he wanted to hear just to get him in the building, right. And then they'll change you after that. And it's like that's what a lot of these schools are doing is just telling you what you want to hear to get you in the building, and then changing up on you after that. Same thing with NIL money and all of that stuff. Yep. So, Coach Prime just telling it like it is, I think, hits with some, not all, of the kids, and then I know for a fact it hits with the parents.
I mean, this is just what TC and JuJu are all about, though.
Yep.
You go through all the articles that have been written about JuJu, and when TC speaks, it's a lot of stuff like that. This is his pinned tweet. This came out like 15 days ago. It says, people ask me what is one of the things that has allowed JuJu to be successful. Honest evaluation. I've surrounded him with people who tell him the truth. There's zero benefit. That's what I was talking about. There's zero benefit to having your son's butt kissed by a trainer or coach. I'd rather pay for honesty. That's what they're all about. That's what this program's all about.
100%.
So we also need to talk about your guy, Gardenhire.
Wait, really quick.
Go ahead.
Well, no, we can talk about this first.
So there's someone we got to keep an eye out for.
Jay Gardenhire.
He's
no relation to Ron Gardenhire, former Twins manager.
You're the only one who tried to make that connection. So
I mean, that's a very unique name. I've only heard it one other time.
Sure. Jay Gardenhire, 6'8", 350-pound offensive tackle from West Bloomfield, Michigan.
Goodness gracious. Yeah. That's a large man.
He's in the 2025 recruiting class. West Bloomfield, I'm pretty sure that's where Brandon Davis Swain is from.
Yeah, that's not a garden. That's a whole park.
He's a 247 Sports 3-star. He was offered by Colorado. I don't have the exact date yet, but not too long ago. And he's been very supportive of the program and the staff since. And he is supposed to be committing very soon.
Love to see it.
So
that's a Buffs lock.
Yeah, what else did you have, though?
I just want to talk about this 2025 class.
Let's talk about it on the other side.
All right.
Shout out to our friends at Coors Light. When it's time to chill, Coors Light is the beer I reach for. It's the beer you should reach for, too. It is a hot, hot day out here in Denver, Colorado. I think we're in the stretch of, 3 days of 95 plus, I think? And this is day really? 2. I think so. It's been 100 degrees every time I get in my car.
I'm weird when it comes to heat in Colorado. I have to add Colorado now because after we went to Texas, I don't feel this way.
Really?
But I'm weird when it comes to heat in Colorado. It doesn't bother me. I should honestly look to see if there's afternoon tea times available today from people who are afraid to be out there in 95 degrees.
Uh-huh.
Makes no difference to me. I don't to me 87 plus all kind of feels the same to me in Colorado.
Well, so here's the thing about Colorado too is there's phases of the summer day because we get a lot of this cloud coverage and kind of scattered rainstorms in the later afternoons, and that really helps. And it's not constantly beating down. When I lived in New Mexico, that shit was brutal. There's not a cloud in the sky. Yeah. And it's just right on you at a mile high. But anyways.
Yeah, we're supposed to touch 97 today.
Yeah. So we need some Coors Lights.
We do need Coors Lights
to chill out and cool down. You guys can find Coors Light wherever you are, and you can get it delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Also, shout out to Illegal Pete's.
Yeah.
I was talking to my brother-in-law the other day. His company's office just moved right across from an Illegal Pete's. And he says that he usually has to go into the office 3 to 4 times a week. And he's like, at least, if I go in 4 times, at least 3 times I'm eating lunch at Illegal Pete's. Yeah. So that's just how good Illegal Pete's is. Best queso in Colorado for sure. Love the reverse nachos. Love the steak and queso burrito. It's all just so good. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beers. And by the way, hot day like today, they got misters on the patio.
Yep.
Cool off. Get yourself a Coors Light, a steak queso burrito. Sit out there in those misters and enjoy the summer.
Exactly. Okay, what were you going to say about the 2025 recruiting class?
So, I think that the 2025 recruiting class, and essentially the football that they're going to play,
right,
so not just those players, but the football that starts next season,
yes,
is what can essentially plate Coach Prime in gold.
It could define his time at Colorado,
and it can be what starts what he said to Joel Klatt, which is that he wants to be known as Coach Prime.
Exactly.
Not the guy who, played in a World Series and a Super Bowl, not, prime time, not Neon Deion, but Coach Prime. That's what he wants to be remembered as, which is such a great way to look at the thing that you have in front of you.
Yeah.
Because when Colorado goes out there and wins a bunch of games this year, people are just going to say, "Oh well,
exactly.
Coach Prime got kind of lucky that his son was the eventual number 1 overall pick, and they're not going to be able to catch lightning in a bottle again like this because Travis Hunter was a generational player and blah 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 blah." Goalpost move after goalpost move. But if Coach Prime, without Shedeur, Shiloh, and Travis, goes out there and starts dominating in college football, that's when everyone is going to have to change what they're saying, change the narrative that they believe to be true about Coach Prime. And so I think it's one of the reasons why he is so in on staying and continuing to coach, because I think that he wants to leave that legacy. And I think it's another reason why you're seeing the recruiting, especially of high school players, get turned up a notch this year.
I love what you said about Coach Prime being present, because he's preached a lot of that since he's gotten to Colorado. Be where your feet are.
Yeah.
He said that, I think, very, very early in his time after he got hired. If you're at the facility, talking to his coaching staff and his players, if you're at the facility, be where your feet are. Work your ass off in the facility, do what you have to do in meetings, all this stuff, watch film. And if you're at home, then be at home. Be a good father, be a dad, be a good brother, son, whatever it is. And I just love that. I think that's great advice for everyone watching. But you're totally right. This is, from the 2025 recruiting class on, this is what defines his legacy. Like, these first 2 years, we kind of knew what was going to happen. Like, that was the easy part of the blueprint, right? You knew as soon as he was hired, Shedeur's going to come in, Travis is going to come in, Shiloh's going to come in. They're going to bring a lot of transfers. They're going to try and beef this team up as much as they can to win these first 2 years. And this is why everyone always says, "Oh, he's just going to leave after this, blah, blah, blah," because they feel like he doesn't plan for staying at Colorado beyond, when he clearly is with this class, with the players he's recruiting. And if he gets a JuJu Lewis to replace a Shedeur, gets a Quinnell X Farrakhan or whoever it is to replace a Travis Hunter, that's when it becomes really scary for everyone else, because then it's not a flash in the pan. And this guy can just go out there and get guys in the portal or in the recruiting class to come in and contribute.
Right. It's going to be the ultimate show of his impact and his power. And I think Girls Club had a great comment there. It's like he wants his legacy to be the impact that he had on young people's lives.
Yes.
And I think that's such a great point. And it goes into like how as a father. And I think that he's just like wanted to take that on and expand that role. But he also knows that at least as a coach, you'll be judged on winning football games.
Yes.
And the other stuff is a great addition, but I've never once heard a coach who didn't succeed, but then people are like, yeah, but did you see how great of men his players turned out to be? Like,
right.
People don't talk about it that way. So you have to have one to have the other to really build that legacy as a great coach and a great leader and a great mentor.
Yep.
And I don't think anyone knows that more than Coach Prime. So this class has a chance to be the ones who carry the torch for what getting Coach Prime to that goal.
Of course, yep. So I'm very excited to follow this recruiting class for that reason. And I think a lot of these guys, like Mantrez Walker, who have just been, they obviously love this program already. They're not enrolled yet. They still have a whole season of high school football to go through. But you can tell with some of these recruits how much they love and how quickly they come to love Colorado and Coach Prime.
It's because there's something special about being a Buff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about like me getting like nostalgic about my college days.
Sure.
I mean like right now.
Yeah.
When you put on that Colorado hat, it means something, and it sends a message to the rest of the country or your friends or your peers.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, I'm part of the resistance.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why like all of these guys who join early lean into it so heavily.
Yeah.
Because there's something really cool and special about being part of this group that's trying to change the narrative, change college football.
Yep. So going back to Jay Gardenhire, sorry. Visited June 12th and 13th, so that was not too long ago, just a couple weeks ago. Went back home to West Bloomfield, Michigan. Spoke with Coach Loldholt over the phone and Coach Gunner. Was offered June 17th. And remember the name.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
See you soon, Jay.
Yeah, very soon. EACFB.
Yeah. They put out a really bad list today.
Yeah, man. Yikes.
Who had this?
I think
Ross?
It's got to be
Dellinger?
everywhere. On three's probably got it. 247. But they put out top 25 toughest places to play in EA 25.
Yep. And if you remember back to the old games, like it actually does matter when you have that home field advantage.
Oh yeah.
This is a bad list, dude.
It's not good.
And you're not going to like one of my takes about it, but I have many, so maybe you'll like some of the other ones. First of all, Kyle Field is number 1 is wrong.
That's terrible. Terrible.
It is wrong. LSU should have been number 1. I think most college football fans agree on that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, LSU, like Penn State, the Swamp, Autzen, like those are the places I think. I don't think of Kyle Field.
I don't think of Autzen. Anyways, Wisconsin.
What have they done at all over the last 3 years?
They haven't, but it is a great atmosphere there. Here's the 2 that I have the biggest issue with because I have personal experience to compare it against. And I'll start with the higher ranked one.
Okay.
Nope, never mind. I'm starting with the lower ranked one.
Okay.
Rice-Eccles Stadium in Utah.
Oh my God, yeah.
What kind of shit is that?
Yeah.
We were there.
We were there.
Was it impactful to you in any way?
They didn't even sell it out, I don't think.
No. They do have like a cool like thing they call like the third down jump or something in the student section. It doesn't hit the way that they think it does. I've been there. And I'm not going to compare everything to Folsom because I think some of these are better than Folsom.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been there and I've been to Folsom. Folsom Field is a much better atmosphere than what they have in Utah. And to be quite frank, I would never even think like the stadium at Utah wouldn't even cross my mind.
I know.
If I was thinking about best atmospheres in college football. And I've been there 3 times.
I think we'd get through like 40, 50 college football teams before we went to Utah.
Yeah. All right, here's my other take.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the atmosphere or the fan base because the atmosphere is legit and the fan base is legit. But if we're talking about toughest places to play, the Big House does not hold sound in.
Please, bro.
It doesn't hold sound in. It's kind of quiet there. It is huge.
Man.
It's too It's too flat to hold sound in.
Yeah, it's built on a hill, bro.
I'm just telling you. I've been there. It's not loud.
I went there for a game that was pretty damn loud. I'm not going to lie.
I'm just telling you, the stadium needs some renovations to hold sound in better.
What are they going to do? Just put walls around it, make it taller?
Put some soundboards on, keep it bouncing in.
No, man.
It just kind of floats out because the stands aren't on top of the field. They just keep getting wider and wider and further away.
I went for the second game against Notre Dame under the lights, and it was pretty electric.
All right. I mean, everything's a little more electric under the lights, so I bet it was a better atmosphere.
Yes.
I will say they did make like a crazy comeback on CU in that game, so it was loud. Or at least it should have been loud. Just wasn't that loud.
How did I know you were going to go there today? Unbelievable.
I'm trying to see if there's any other ones. Good on college football for not putting Nebraska in here. Overrated
How is Penn State
stadium.
just not higher?
I don't know. Florida State being over Florida also seems kind of crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, honestly, Oregon is one of the toughest places to play. We saw that firsthand last year. I don't know how this isn't a top 10 one. They are just at 11, but that's that's going back 15, 10 years now at least.
Albertson Stadium.
That is crazy, too. How is Boise State on this?
Great, great program. I'm sure the fan base is legit. I have been to one game there. It's just not big enough to be in these conversations with the other schools, I don't think. At least it doesn't feel big enough.
And then, of course, they put the damn cowbells at number 25.
Yeah. So, yeah, Boise Stadium only holds 36,000.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Insane. What is the elevation of Boise? There's no way it's close to a mile.
No, I didn't even think about that that they probably should have considered when talking about Colorado. It might even be their defense for why they put Utah in there.
That probably is their defense for putting Utah in there. And it's not the elevation isn't as high as Colorado.
Yeah. Some bad takes in here. I'd like to see how they came up with this.
Well, we're about to see potentially some more bad takes from them. 2,700 is the elevation of Boise, by the way.
Okay.
This week, we're getting a content rollout from EA. Tomorrow, we get Sights and Sounds deep dive, so I'm sure that's going to be a lot of stadium stuff again. What?
Actually, this is an interesting point because AW said you guys have to consider home win versus loss record instead of fan experience. You got to look up Texas A&M's record against ranked teams at home. It is not good.
And just look up, I think, was it Wisconsin over the last 3 years at home or something like that?
To me, a tough pace to play in the regard that you're talking about changes every year just based on how good the team is.
Mm-hmm.
So then you would just rank these based on the best teams.
Right,
you have Georgia number one in this. To me, the toughest place to play should be about what is the loudest, most hostile fan bases.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We should get more of that tomorrow with the Sights and Sounds deep dive. I'm sure that's a lot of that stuff. And then it starts to get interesting at the end of the week. On Thursday, top offenses and defenses. And then Friday, top team overall rankings.
Do you think we're going to show up in any of these? Are they going through 25 on all of them?
I hope so. We're definitely showing up on Thursday, top offenses and defenses. Overall team power rankings, I think that's where we might see some disrespect.
Okay. I think so too.
I did see also that there's some on EA's YouTube page, there's going to be a video. I think this might just be the deep dive video, but that's where a lot of it's going to come out too. So stay tuned there.
You have to at least acknowledge the irony in a person with a Michigan logo talking about how App State beat Texas A&M at home.
That's crazy. I remember that day. Rough day. Anything else before we go to the Toyota chat?
I don't think so.
Let's go. I'm hyped. We are less than a month away from this game coming out. What's up, Toyota chat? I don't care. What is your take on these 247 guys talking bad about JuJu now and how these companies lower player rankings once they commit to see you? Did you find the video?
No. Buffs News Weekly was trying to help me, but I guess I can try and fast forward to it. Who knows how long it is? Like, can't just be sitting here listening to my phone.
Was it like an hour, like one of their hour shows?
Yeah, it was a show, but he gave me the timestamp on it. I just don't know how long it is. Anyways.
Shout out to Adam. He was on their show yesterday. I watched it.
I just, I don't know. Because was it On3 who just moved JuJu to their number 1 quarterback?
That was Rivals.
Okay, Rivals recently moved him to their number 1 quarterback. And I do think there is something to be said about players getting almost like knighted by getting offers and committing to certain schools.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they have an Alabama kid, or I guess it's not a good example anymore with Saban gone, but when Saban's there, it's like if they have an Alabama kid as a 3-star and then he commits to Alabama and is locked in, like they're going to reevaluate the film. They're going to be like, maybe we should check this back. And they're going to see it through a totally different lens.
Yeah.
The idea that they would do it the other way around is crazy to me. And that does not mean it's not happening, because it absolutely could be. But I do think it's possible that, like, when you have internal biases about something, and then you look back and you reevaluate it, knowing that they went to a school or a program that you don't believe in, you can, like, change the way you look at something.
Yeah.
So here's a perfect example. Bo Nix.
Yeah.
We didn't love him.
No.
As a prospect.
No.
The second he became a Bronco, you start not looking for the things that you don't like about him, but you start to look for the things that you do like about him.
Right.
And because we're fans and we don't hide that, like, we're willing to, like, warp our minds to be like, okay, you know what? Actually, maybe I was wrong before.
Of course.
And the same thing can happen the other way around, right? This didn't actually happen, but let's just say I was a big Patrick Mahomes guy.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden he becomes a Chief. Now I'm going back and saying, you know what? That Texas Tech offense has never really produced any real quarterbacks, and you do this thing. And so I think it's possible that that's happening in the recruiting trail as well.
For sure. Also, let's just throw out the fact that, I mean, these are 25 kids. They've got a whole season to go through. These rankings are not even close to being set in stone. They're just going to change for the better, for the worse. Like Alex Graham is someone who views himself as a 5-star player. So if he has a great enough year, I'm sure we could see him potentially become a 5-star player. But we've already seen, as you mentioned, I forget who had the question, a lot of players who come to Colorado, they have their ratings dropped. And it's you who brings up the point that these are recruiting services. Colorado doesn't recruit as much for right now, at least. Maybe does that change, I guess, then, if Coach Prime leans into more recruiting and the recruiting sites feel like they're getting more love from him?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Artemis, how is the funding doing this year? Are we able to compete against the mid to higher tier schools yet? We talked about this a bit yesterday. This was also something that came from On3, but you could probably talk about it too. The NIL, the 5430 Alliance is doing very well.
They are, but I will say this always. I never want people thinking that just because we're doing well, it doesn't mean we don't need more help.
Definitely.
So it's a kind of a catch-22 there. But I think we've certainly established ourselves as a team with a legit NIL presence. We still have a ways to go before we're up there with the top schools. But I feel good about where we're headed.
And I can't remember again, because I've mentioned this a few times, but I saw someone put out like a graph of like the top 15 or 10 NIL programs in the country. And Colorado was in there, but it's like the difference between the first and the like 10th program is the difference between like the 10th and like the 60th program. Like, it's such an exponential curve up as you go through those rankings. Like the top of the line, teams like, I guess Oregon you could throw out there with their backing from Nike and Phil Knight and all. Like, that's almost just impossible at the top. But being in that top upper echelon of NIL is always going to be helpful, of course. So
yep.
Atlanta State Focus Informed. Drumroll, Arcane J. Cool be the next guest. We'll have a guest on Thursday. It's not a player.
You want to announce it?
We'll have Scott Proctor on.
Okay.
That's my guy.
Tell the people.
Scott Proctor, I'm sure know a lot of you know about him. The Coloradan out of Fort Collins. So he's Fort Collins Buffs guy.
Yeah, he writes for the paper in Fort Collins, but his job is to cover the Buffs, and I think he's done a fantastic job.
He's kicked ass.
Yeah, he's done a really great job. So excited to have him on. Something we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah, so hit him up at Scott Proctor _ on Twitter. But he'll be here on Thursday.
Also, I don't care. Thought we had a negative attitude towards this question. I don't. If we did, I didn't mean to.
Am I being accused of being attitude again when I'm just talking?
It's possible.
My apologies. Goodness.
Sometimes you do this. I don't know. It does sound like you have an attitude, but I know you well enough now.
Jay says, who y'all think has the best chance to give us those 2 losses in the Big 12?
I don't like the way it's phrased. I don't want anyone to beat us.
Who are the 2 toughest games this year?
Yeah, there we go.
In the Big 12.
2 toughest games in the Big 12 to me are,
I'd say Utah and probably Oklahoma State.
so the thing is, both of those games are at home.
But they're the 2 best teams they play, though.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a case also for Kansas State, and that's also a home game. So to me, the hardest games happen on the road. Maybe it's at Kansas, but again, it's that weird NFL stadium where it's not going to have quite the same thing, same juice.
Mr. Husband says Kansas State and Oregon State. We don't play Oregon State. Oklahoma State, he says. AW says Kansas and Utah. Kansas is a road game. A lot of people, when we went through odds not too long ago, Kansas was up there. And they're what, like 6-point dogs or something to Kansas on the early lines? Whatever. Trevor, sorry. So Colorado's nowhere on the list. No, they are not on the top 25 toughest places to play in EACFB. Not yet. Jay again, what's going on with Staub? Is he safe as the second string, or is there competition for the job this season? I didn't know there was anything going on with Staub.
No, he's just asking, is he safer as a second string, or is there competition for the job?
I think if you read into what Unk has talked about with this quarterback room going back to the start of spring football, it sounds like it's pretty safely going to be Ryan Staub.
Yeah, I think so as well.
East Coast Kev with the super chat. Every college is going to look for their own Deion Sanders. Don't be surprised if someone offers Ray Lewis a huge coaching job, head coaching job, and puts a staff around him. Don't have to be prime, but be marketable. I mean, I think we've already kind of seen that. Look at Deshaun Foster at UCLA too. I think Coach Prime has made it so that a lot of former players are going to get more serious consideration right away, as opposed to having to go through the ranks of being an assistant and being a position coach, being a coordinator, and then maybe you get a chance to be a head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we saw the attempt to replicate it with Ed Reed, and then obviously that whole thing went awry, which is a bit unfortunate because I think that there would have been more by this point had Ed Reed stayed as the coach last year and had success. There is something about like these guys who were captains, motivators, spiritual leaders of their football teams, just like being given a gift to do that.
Yeah.
And I see it a lot in our industry where it's like people complain so much about athletes getting jobs over journalists.
Right.
And it's just like, that person just knows ball on such a high level. Like, they're a really valuable person to add to a broadcast. Like, Tom Brady doesn't need to go to journalism school to learn how to talk about football.
Yeah.
And I think that, there's a balance of it. Like, you're always going to want your Jim Nances and your Chris Fowlers on those broadcasts and, et cetera, et cetera. The same thing I think applies to coaching, where it's just like, everyone, and who knows what would have happened if he stayed as a coach, but like everyone freaked out when Jeff Saturday got the interim job for the Colts. And first of all, it was kind of like they're just trying something with their interim coach.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of like qualifications this, qualifications that. And it's just like, his qualification is that he was Peyton Manning's center forever, and Peyton trusted him, and he's a Hall of Fame player who knows ball at an elite level.
And he played for the Colts for 12 years.
Yeah, give him a shot. It's I think honestly, there's way too much regurgitation in the coaching circles. So trying something new is something I'm in on.
Yeah, the Ed Reed situation sucks, but I mean, and black head coaches is a totally different conversation, obviously. So it's great to see Deshaun Foster get his opportunity, but guys like Trent Dilfer just got thrown in right away at UAB. You know what I mean? So East Coast Kev again. After Shedeur and Travis leave, and he's still winning, they'll say the NCAA is rigged for Deion to win. The goal. I hope you guys are ready for the amount of goalpost moving we're about to see. Because we saw it on a great level last September. But if this team is in Big 12 contention and they're winning games through October going into November, with a 1-2, maybe even 3-loss record, the goalpost moving is going to be outrageous. It's going to be hilarious.
Oh, it's already happening. It's been happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember before last season, and I could absolutely dig up the receipts to prove it, people were saying they're going to win 1 or 0 game.
Right.
Now that they won 4 times what people were predicting, now that's a dunk. Oh, you went 4-8, blah, blah, blah. It's like the goalposts are consistently moving. The only way that they couldn't move the goalposts to a place, eventually they run out of real estate, is winning a national championship.
Yeah.
But until that time, they will continue to be moved. He can't. If they win the Big 12 and lose in the college football playoff, it will be Coach Prime can't win the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Yeah.
That will happen.
Yeah.
So it's annoying, but it's whatever.
Diallo, what's up, man? Which home game do y'all think will be the most lit? We picked Kansas State when we did this last week.
Yeah. I mean, obviously CSU and Nebraska are both on the road, so it's a wide open thing. But it's interesting with the relationship that the fan base had with Dylan. Everyone kind of liked him enough that it's been hard, I think, for some people to flip the switch to the other side that quick. So I don't know if Dylan's gonna get booed. He might.
I think he will, but I don't know. Like you said, I think a lot of people just really like the kid.
Yeah, he's just a really likable guy.
Yeah, despite where he plays football at. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that it could be Kansas State. I also think it could be Utah.
Yeah, Utah wouldn't surprise me.
Show them who really belongs to be in the top 25 on that list.
Of course, them. UCF, but that's a road game.
Yep. By the way, UCF, the fact that they already sold that game out, doesn't tell me anything about them.
It's about Colorado and Coach Prime, 100%.
It tells me how many CU fans are going to be in that building.
Yep, definitely.
I think it's going to be. Did you see the Game 7 last night with the Oilers and Panthers? Mm-hmm. And Oilers fans took over the building.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get something similar.
Well, and it's going to be weird too because both colors are black and gold, so you're not even going to be able to tell in the stadium.
You'll be able to hear it though.
Yeah, until you hear the cheers. Did we have one more question? Someone was asking about the offensive line. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard.
I don't know.
Getting stronger. That's for sure.
We've been talking about the one-on-ones when we can. But yeah, we've still got a month until camp, and then the team goes on break after this week too. So we're not even going to have really anything. We're about to hit the ultimate off-season point here.
Oh yeah. hopefully some guests during that time.
Yes. All right, good show. We'll be back tomorrow. Yeah, we'll have Scott on Thursday. I'm hyped about it.
Hell yes, go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.